Hi, welcome to GRVO TV, G's Reviews, Views and Opinions. I just wanted to do a quick video on flash for ultimately for my Sony NEX. Now the built-in flash is pretty horrendous on this, so even as a little bit of fill-in, it's okay. But other than that, it's pretty useless, to be fair. So I wanted an off-camera flash system that didn't cost the earth. I haven't got hundreds of pounds to spend because I'll probably use this, maybe 2 or 3 times. Not very often am I going to use this, but for that odd occasion I thought, yeah, okay, let's see how cheaply I can do it. Now I already own a couple of flashes. I've got the Nikon Speedlight SB700 and an old Nikon SB15, which is a great flash. You can bounce it. It's got manual, it's got TTL, etc. And it does sort of work, but there is an issue with that, and I'll go into that a little bit more in a moment. So I looked at the different kinds of flash triggers that you can get, and you can spend £300, or you can do I did and spend less than, including postage, less than £10. Now I bought a pair of second-hand iShoot flash triggers, and you get a wireless controller and this, which is like a receiver, I presume. It doesn't say on it what it is, and it says on it FSK, and it's at 2.4 gigahertz. Now I did want 2.4 gigahertz because I think that's a nice reliable way of triggering remotely. So it's not infrared or anything like that, it's just 2.4 gigahertz. These units have built-in batteries and just come with like a little generic USB charger, so you just charge the units up. Now that has its pluses and minuses. If they go flat, you can't replace the batteries, and then you're stuffed, so you've got to make sure they're well charged before you go out. On the plus side, you don't have to mess about with batteries. So for me, the amount I'm going to use them, and it's not like I'm going to be shooting all day long with something like this, it's just going to be a quick couple of shots and then done sort of thing. Maybe have them on for half an hour, and they're absolutely fine for that. That's great. They've got little dip switches where you set it up 1, 2, 3, 4 to talk to each other, so you can talk to other units or not talk to other units if you don't want to. So it's got a little system for that, and both of them have got little LED lights on. And this has got a little one. You press it and it goes green, and the receiver, when you press that, the receiver goes green. And if you press it, it gives a red flash to show you're connected, which is quite handy. The question is, and these were for, I think they were for Nikon, it said, or Canon, or it might have said for both, I'm not sure. They never ever say they're for Sony. So I thought, well, I'll give them a try and see what happens. I've got no other wires with them. I say they come with a little cable for charging, and other than that, that's all I got, which I thought, well, okay, we'll give it a go. So we'll put the transmitter or transceiver, maybe, not sure what it is. That's nice, that clamps nicely on the camera, which is good, and it sort of looks okay on this. That works so far, so good. That's on. There's no on-off switch on that. I think it gets powered from the camera. It's got a single pin, so it must just take its power from the camera, but it seems to be sort of almost like permanently on. So that's on there. We'll start off on the SB700. We'll stick that on there, and I'm just going to put it on the stand for now. Just lock that on, and obviously you're not going to get TTL. We know that, so you're going to have to shoot in manual. And the way I do it, I just try and keep things simple with flash, because to be honest, I'm useless with flash, but I can do it if I put my mind to it. And I've got myself a little system set up that works initially, and then you can tweak it. And basically that's 1/16 power if I'm doing portraits, 1/16 power on the flash. Start at around f5.6 at a 60th of a second, and you will start off with a picture that you can then tweak either way, and for me that works. And the way I generally adjust the power of the flash is to move it forward and back, away from or towards the subject, and again that works pretty well. You can adjust the power on there obviously, but it seems to work okay just moving it forward and back. Okay, sorry, let's just put that back in there. That doesn't lock on that stand, so it's not really designed for that. So the idea is you'd have that on top of a flash stand or a light stand or something, or maybe you could put it on a tripod, you know, to the side of your subject or whatever. As I say, I'm on just manual mode on there. I'm going to go into manual on the camera, and we're going to set it to 1/60th f5.6, and we're going to go ISO 400 just to start with. And all I'm going to do is take a picture of this. Just zoom in a little bit, and we'll see what happens. Nothing happened. Right, okay. Let's just get that out of the way. Let's just try it again. Okay. Well, we're up and running. They've gone to sleep. Not sure. Okay, so let's have a look at the image. Right, that's overexposed. Now there's a couple of things I can do to change it. As I said, I can move the flash away, take the shot again, have a little look at it. Ever so slightly overexposed, so we'll move further away. I'm very close to be using flash here. Try again. So this is all my, and that's fine. The other thing I can do to change the power is to change the ISO. So if I just drop that to ISO 200 and have it close here, let's just have a look at that. Again, that's still a little bit overexposed, so we'll go ISO 200, the flash over here. Perfect. So that is perfect. So there you go. Simple. I mean, there's not really a lot more you can say about it. It's simple. It works. The fact that you need to move the flash around, that's part of manual flash anyway. As I say, you're not going to get TTL. But for a simple, cheap solution, especially if you've already got a flash, I mean, this is just what I've had. It just works absolutely fine. No issues at all. I'm sure it's not going to be as reliable as some of the major makes of flash, but then bear in mind I paid 10 quid for this system because I already had a flash. That's all I've paid. Now this flash, this SB15, it's a bit of a funny old thing, to be fair, and it's got like an auto and manual, a TTL mode. And the idea is that this is supposed to measure the distance, but it doesn't really work like that. And because it hasn't got a manual setting, it's not really ideal. Now, it does work, so you could, if you had one lying around or something similar to an SB15 or a really old flash, you could use it. But what I found was it was much more difficult. See, you see that it does work. It is much more difficult to adjust the power of it. It sort of sets itself up, not full power, but it's more power than you really need. I've tried different things, settings on it, but it doesn't really give you a manual option. So all I would suggest is, yes, it does work, and you can get it to work by moving the flash around and adjusting your ISO again, etc. But this flash particularly, because there's no manual control, it just appears to be a bit too powerful for what I need. As I said, I just set this up to 1/16th power, and in most occasions it's absolutely fine, plenty of power. You only need more power if you're a long way away and you need to shoot to your target, or I suppose if it's pitch black you might need a little bit more power, but generally for what I'm doing, which is lighting portraits from an angle or whatnot, then that on 1/16th power is absolutely fine. So there you go, that's my little tip for getting off-camera flash on the Sony, this is the Sony NEX 6, but it will, this will translate to most of these sort of mirrorless cameras, I guess. I haven't tried it on any others, but I don't see why it wouldn't work with some of the other mirrorless cameras like the Olympuses and the Panasonics and things like that, because they all have pretty crappy pop-up flashes. So if you want a cheap solution and you've already got, you know, digital SLR gear, and you've already got a flash like I've got, whether it be a Nikon, a Canon, or a Yongnuo, whichever, then I think it's just a good cheap option. And you know, if it didn't work, it's 10 quid, so I haven't lost anything. But as it happens, it works very well, very reliably. So there you go, my top tip for a cheap off-camera flash for your mirrorless camera. This has been GRVO TV, G's Reviews, Views and Opinions. I'll see you soon. Bye.